Hi, it's Jane. Oh my goodness. Today has been an interesting day dealing with a cat that wants to help out way too much. Ronan keeps wanting to help me put everything into, I generally put them into cellophane, clear cellophane bags. Some of the things that I sell at this craft show. So I was doing that and Ronan comes up, tries to help. I've got him sitting in a little basket on the ground in front of me. You know, as I fill them up, then I put that basket in there and move on. And I look down, I hear this. Ronan's over there just trying to chew the heck out of that plastic. It's like, no, stop it, behave. I'm still working on this last square. I have gotten down to where I am decreasing and I'm doing the blue. And I'm trying to decide if I want the blue on the inside or if I want the reds all to meet in the inside. I was thinking about making the blues all meet on the inside and then doing a round of white. Well, not a round of white. A round of red around the whole thing. Then white and then blue to finish it off. But then I go back and forth and think, no, I don't know if I want to do it that way. So what do you guys think I should do? You think that'll look okay? I think the way that I've done it, regardless of how it works, regardless of the rounds that you put on it, it'll work out fine. I was just thinking, I don't know that I want white on the outside, you know, all by itself, the last row. So I don't know. Craziness, isn't it? Well, and I think, you know, sometimes we just get ahead of ourselves and we don't lay it out first to see how it looks to determine what we think we're going to finish it when we're working with blocks, those kind of things. So maybe I am just, you know, getting ahead of myself there. I don't know. I've found a couple of new channels. I've watched a couple of their videos, pretty good videos. I will be doing a shout out later on, probably next week, of some of the channels. I haven't done shout outs in quite a while, so I figure I need to. But I only have one last thing to make for the craft fair. So I'll be doing that later on this evening and, cutting this evening and then sewing tomorrow and then probably packaging them up come Monday. You know, or maybe even Sunday. And then I can start on the hats for the kids in between sewing everybody together or, you know, finishing the rounds on these blankets. But I hope everybody's having a good week this week. It just seems colder than normal to me for this time of year. For some reason, I always remembered it didn't seem to be so cold so early. And then, you know, we keep hearing that it's going to be a mild winter. But then I've been seeing posts on Facebook for here in Pennsylvania that we may get snow Halloween evening. So I guess we'll see, right? But anyway, last night we'd met up at the church to unpack a lot of those things to get them ready for our packing party there at the church for Operation Christmas Child. And I have to tell you, it boggles the mind, the amount of plastic, plastic wrap. And I'll give you an example. We were undoing tops. The tops were wrapped in plastic, and then you got this bag that was a Ziploc bag. Sometimes there were Ziplocs, sometimes it was just, bagged around, taped. So then you get that bag open, and each top on the inside was wrapped in plastic. So we're unwrapping like crazy because, in a lot of third world countries, they don't know what to do with the plastic, and, so, and the whole idea is to take as much packaging off so you don't have to deal with that for these third world countries who do not know what to do with that, and really, most of them would burn it in a pit fire anyway. So you don't want that to happen with the kids and everything. And then we were talking about some of the things, combs. They were individual combs, and each one of them was wrapped in plastic. Now, the person that had ordered those 2 boxes of combs for our packing party, the previous years, you opened up the box, and then they were in a big plastic bag inside of a box. So you just had to open up the box, dump them in to the tote, or, wherever you were going to be placing them for the packing party, and you were done. So that was kind of fun. We did, when we were unpacking the Barbie dolls, there were a couple that were hilarious. The company that these Barbie dolls are purchased from, and they are dark-skinned Barbie dolls. They do have light skin, and I said, I don't know why we don't have Asian dolls either, for those. But this company that they were purchased from, all they do is things for Operation Christmas Child. So the dolls come, they're slipped down into an open plastic bag. So all you have to do, you don't have to open boxes, break down boxes, anything like that. All you have to do is drop the Barbie doll into the tote and be on your way. 2 of the dolls lost their heads. And we were trying to figure out how to get them back on. And they just were not going to go back on and stay. And one of the gals had said, well, get some Gorilla Glue and glue them on. And the other person goes, but then their heads won't turn. And she said, would the kids know that they turned? So, we were having fun doing it. So, we did get quite a bit taken care of. And so the room looks a whole lot more organized. And I think there were a gazillion tops. Seemed like a gazillion. Every time we opened up a smaller box, we thought we were done with those. And there were. Another group of tops. Lots of tops. And these are the spinning tops that light up. So, and as we're working, my first question was, I'm hoping there'll be somebody there that knows how to use the tops that can teach them how to do it. And I was kind of curious if there was like some kind of paper sheet that could be given out to these kiddos, so that they would know how to work the tops. I don't know, but, I guess where they're at, someone should be able to know how to work a top, or, maybe they can show video to them. I got nothing. And I'd made a comment. I said, because I've sewed the sanitary pads, but I've not been sending them with Operation Christmas Child. I've actually been sending them through a different organization. And I said, so, because I had so many and I didn't want them just sitting there. I said, if I do these menstruation pads next year, normally I put them in some kind of bag, usually some kind of little purse that is waterproof, or a drawstring bag that is waterproof, so that they can change whatever. I said the only thing I'm concerned about is being able to get enough underwear for that, because ideally you'd like to send 2 or 3 pairs of underwear with each set of maxi pads, menstruation pads. So we're trying to, think about the logistics of that kind of stuff. And the gal that is helping out with this, her dad and her like to go online to get auctions. And they had picked up at this one auction, they were magnifying glasses, and they're just small plastic magnifying glasses. But, so they picked up quite a bit of them. But she was telling us there was one year that her dad had bid on some socks, and he thought he was just getting, like a big box of socks. What he wound up getting was a full shipping container full of socks. And she said they rolled and rolled and rolled socks for what seemed like a full year, going through those shipping containers. And I guess eventually they'd taken quite a bit of them, divided them up between a couple of churches for Operation Christmas Child. And I think she said at one point they sent them as fillers to one of the distribution centers, which, that's a pretty good idea. But like I said, they didn't expect to get that many socks, but they did. So, and I said, yeah, that's a problem when you're bidding online. I said, it's also a problem when you're in person bidding, and they're not using the number system with the number paddles, and you do this or whatever, you bought something. Used to be that was the way most of those auctions were done. Now most of them, they give you a paddle board or a number sheet with a number on it, so you can hold up your number if you want to bid on the item. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. That they bought a whole shipping container full of socks. As far as the news, I did go and I was looking at a couple of things, and there's a lot of the I've told you about a lot of folks that I've been seeing putting videos out there that if they don't get their SNAP benefits and EBT and all that kind of stuff, that they're just going to go and basically storm the store and steal, that kind of stuff. Apparently Walmart has issued something out there that I thought was interesting. Supposedly they are threatening to completely lock the store with only employees inside, and that you would have to purchase everything online if the government is not reopened by November the 1st. I don't know about you, but I would think that those Christmas sales and that Black Friday might be a whole different animal this year, And Democrats keep saying it's the only leverage we have, that's why we're not passing it, that kind of stuff. And, it's all politics. And I went back to look at the resolution, because I had heard someone say that it's the same resolution. In fact, it's the resolution that Chuck Schumer wrote in September of 2024, and every one of the Democrats said yes on it. So I went to look. It is. It is the continuing resolution that Chuck Schumer wrote in September of 2024. They are playing games, and they are holding America hostage. And I just find that horrendous. And, it's just crazy. Some of those ideas floating around there that Democrats are saying this is the only leverage they have. Leverage what? To fund all these other places? To fund other countries? When we know the money wasn't going to the other countries? It was coming back through these NGOs back to Democrats' pockets? I don't think so, buddy. Then we had I had someone that was talking about the whole thing with the health care, wanting the tax subsidies. By the way, those are tax subsidies that we pay to keep our health care costs lower. Who do we pay them to? The insurance companies. Well, come January the 1st, those subsidies would normally be paid out automatically to all the different healthcare companies, insurance companies, from the Treasury. So if that does not get passed, then they don't get that money. That tax subsidy money. Then in turn, they won't fund the campaigns of the senators and Congress people and House, reps. Isn't that funny how that works? We've always talked about, and if you go to opensecrets.org, you can see who donates to these different campaigns. So you could see how much, Aetna or Humana or, whoever their mother company is, donated to Schumer, to, the different candidates, the different political people. I just think that's interesting. Do think that's rather convenient. But, and they could always cap the healthcare prices. They wanted to, but they don't want to. So they're not going to. But I think the biggest thing is, those tax subsidies were built into the ACA that was passed in 2012, 14, whatever it was. When we had to pass a bill so we could see what was in it. It was in there that those tax subsidies would absolutely end in December 2025. So it was no surprise. They knew it was coming. They could have fixed this long before, but they chose not to. So, I don't know. And I see the whole, you see all this outrage about about Trump. Now they're saying he tore down the East Wing. There's a part of me that goes, I don't care if he tore down the East Wing. It's probably outdated from the time it was built and probably has some structural issues anyway. But, people complaining that it's the White House, it's not his house, he can't do that, he didn't get permission, blah, 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 blah. They submitted the plans and the request back in July, August. And from what I understand, the person that's the head of the planning committee has said the only thing that they have not done is sign off on it. They've had the advisory board there, giving them advice, the way that it should look and all this other stuff. Then you have those people screaming and crying, but it's historical, they're tearing down historical buildings. Well, you didn't give a flying flip about the history when you were ripping down historical statues and other buildings, did you? So, I don't know. Bunch of crazy people think they'd have to have something to whine about. Probably right. But anyway, and you don't need permission to do the demolition. So, I just think it's going to be nice that they won't have to put all the dignitaries in the white tents out on the lawns anymore. They'll actually have some place to have these ceremonies and these dinners, and that'll seat up to 1,000 people. I think it'll be a great thing. Of course, Trump will never get to use it. But I do have to say, he is really trolling the left hard, and especially Hillary Clinton. Hillary made that big stink about it's not his house, it's our house, it's your house. And I can't remember what the response was. I've heard a couple of different responses. I won't go there. But today I saw where Trump has said that he's thinking about naming it the Monica Lewinsky Ballroom. Just to get back at Hillary. Okay, the man is petty as all get out. But he is trolling these people left and right. So, and there's a part of me that goes, they deserve it. They really do. But sometimes you just have to look at things and say, all right, this is him being sarcastic, trying to stick it to them the way they try to stick it to him. So, I don't know. What do you guys think about the whole thing with the, was it the basketball group and the mafia and all that? All those people being arrested for the insider trading. It's not insider trading. Where they were fixing the games, those kind of things. I was surprised about that. I had no clue that was going on. It's crazy. And I saw this morning where they'd run a sting in Hawaii to find is it 10 or 20 children who were lost in Hawaii, and they rescued them. ICE and sheriff's departments and police all working together, FBI, to locate those children and find them. It's a good thing. So, yeah. But some of the things I'm seeing, it's crazy. I still cannot wrap my head around Walmart closing and locking their doors, not letting anyone in to shop, that you have to buy everything online. So, I don't know. Should be interesting. See what happens. Because I don't think the Democrats think, I think the Democrats think they have a ball to play with, but I don't think they realize if you take one day of food away from people, the uprising, then again, maybe that's what they're expecting. I don't know. What do you think? However, I do see a lot of people, coming along and giving some what they call struggle meal ideas, hoping that they've been stocking their pantry, not wasting it on a bunch of junk food. Things like pasta, canned sauce, some ramen noodles, staples, those kind of things. I mean, I can remember when I was on food stamps, that was what I did. I made sure that we had a lot of staples put back. We had a lot of ramen available, noodles, those kind of things that could be kept for a while. Canned goods, so I could make a meal out of those. Now, I did spend a little bit on meat, and I had one woman cashier give me a hard time because I would buy a roast. And she would be like, "You must be nice." And I'd just look at her and I'd say, well, I generally divide that up into about 6 or 8 meals for us. She goes, 6 or 8 meals? I said, yeah. I slice off pieces of it. We may have what looks like a steak, but we've chopped that up to use it in, to make a soup or something like that, or so that we have a little bit of meat with the veggies and the pasta or whatever we're having. And after I told her that, she kind of quit giving me grief. I guess she just thought we were eating high off the hog all the time, and we weren't. But, you never know what people are thinking. We ate a lot of beans and potatoes and cornbread. So, but there are ways to survive without having to have, a ton of money for food. And this is one thing that I think a lot of communities, I would hope, are doing, is doing like what they call blessing boxes, or even churches that have pantries that are not based on income. We have one that is a blessing box here in our area. So many times, and I will tell you, I cannot eat the amount of cereal that the food bank puts in the senior boxes. At least I haven't figured out how to eat that much. I don't know if the deer will eat it, but so generally when I get a senior box, I'll take the cereal, put that over in the blessing box, and anything that is extra. They always include juice. I'm diabetic. I don't drink juice. So I always put the juice up there and Generally, they have quite a few big cans of spaghetti sauce that are in there. Well, I tend to make my own spaghetti sauce from tomato paste. So I put the tomato sauce in the food pantry, as well as some noodles or spaghetti, whatever. Canned meats, because I do go to the grocery store and spend some. And so I always try to pick up a couple of canned meats to put in the pantry. Not for me, but, for other folks. So, and the whole idea between those is if you need, you take. Those that have, give. So, and I would hope that if you don't have that, maybe you would consider doing that for your church, with your church, this coming season while we don't know what's going on with the craziness with the government. They again voted down the option to fund food stamps and pay the essential workers. So they voted that down again, so that we're still at a stalemate, I guess. But then again, we have some elections coming up, so maybe the elections coming up next month will change a few things. A lot of these are local, but some of those are not for some areas, so guess we'll see what happens. A little bit of a tickle. I don't know what's going on there. Every time I turn around and look outside, today it seems like there's deer out there chomping away on stuff. That always just fascinates me the way that they do. With all of a sudden during the day, towards when it starts to get cooler, they come out like in force. So, let's see, is there anything else that I've been hearing about that's going on? No, can't think of anything else off the top of my head. But it should be interesting this next week. Hopefully Democrats will realize that they're probably going to piss off their base. Since they claim to be the party of the working man and for the poor people. I don't know. Saw a couple of videos where there was one gentleman put out there that he wasn't going to work for his food stamps. That it was our responsibility to feed him and his children. I don't know about you, but I don't think it's my responsibility. I don't mind helping out. But if you're not going to go to work, then go to school so that you can eventually land a job to take care of yourself and your family. That's what a lot of us did. Was it easy? No, it was not easy. I know my biggest challenge was childcare. Coming up with the money for childcare. When I didn't have no money. Made it work though. Did a lot of sewing for a lot of those nursing students I was going to school with. They gave me a little bit of money. Did a lot of sewing back then for those kind of things. All right, I am going to let you go for now. I have got to lay these out on the bed and determine how I want to do them. Maybe I'll take photos of them and let you see what I finally did decide on. I did finish the last block. I will weave in the ends and then go lay them out and decide how I'm going to join them. I do think I am going to join them with crochet. Maybe not. You know, we'll see. All right, everybody. Have a great week. I'll see you again later on this week, and we'll catch up soon.